The story of One Piece has taught us time and time again that the Marine sense of justice translates more to oppression and control as opposed to upholding the will of the people. So does that mean that all members of the Marines are complacent in the evils that the higher brass of the Marines tend to enact? Are there any Marines that are safe from this scrutiny? Well, in this video, we're going to talk heavily about that. This will be a clip from a live stream of me reacting to a content creator named Golfer Gare, whom was breaking down the fact that basically any Marine within this structure is complicit in the evils that the world government is committing, all the way down to characters like Garp and Kobe. But there's a lot of nuance to this conversation, so let's get into it. But before that, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and consider joining the Discord where we theory craft on One Piece all week long. Let's get into it.
Saying that my take lacks nuance. So here, let's take a more critical dive into this. The number one defense of Garp and Kobe and the Marines as a whole is that they want to change the system from the inside.
If you guys can't hear, let me know.
Accident by Oda. This is something that we see across many police state structures across the world, not just in the US. We've heard it when arguing police brutality before. Every good cop believes they can change the system from within. But here's the thing. They never seem to be around to stop the bad cops from doing bad cops stuff. When accountability is levied against these people, all the time, there's articles and people coming out and saying, you don't understand the nuance. You don't seem to understand this is a complicated situation. And for some reason, it just keeps happening. And when it's time to hold bad actors into account, the good cops show up in support of the bad cops. You can be a good person, but if you are an active participant of an institution that does bad things, you are complicit in those crimes.
Agreed.
A lot of folks kept bringing up the
This is not One Piece. Oh, well, we're talking about One Piece. I hope that's okay.
Every single Marine isn't taught to turn a blind eye to what the Celestial Dragons do.
And also, you're late to the stream, fam.
It's funny, when they show up, they fall in line. Need I remind you who created the perimeter so the slaves couldn't escape on God Valley? My last point is, you cannot have it both ways. When anyone who joins the Marines uncovers how bad and corrupt the Marine institution actually is, dissent and desertion are expected, just like what Saul did.
All right, I want to pause this real quick and make a point. Dragon is the prime example of how every person in the Marines should react once they realize what the Marines are about, i.e., you spend time in the Marines. You do think that you are providing safety and help and helping a society grow and be in a better situation. But as Dragon spent more time in there, he was like, wait a minute. Like, this is freaking awful. This is not something I'm about at all. This is fully against my morals. And not only does Dragon leave the Marines, but he inherently creates an organization against them. I think that's supposed to be the proper response to this. Wonder if Akainu will turn when he finds out. I think Akainu's getting closer. I think after Akainu had the conversation with Kizaru post Egghead, when Kizaru's like, mofo, you ordered me to unalive my best friend. Like, F you, how do you feel about that? I think he actually... I think that started to get through to him. But I think Akainu's going to wait way too long to turn around. So it'll be too late. Let's continue.
And the defense a lot of people have is that they do not understand the upper crest of the actual power structure within the world government. Neat. Then desertion and dissent are even more acceptable because you believe the power structure stops at Akainu. It doesn't stop at Imu and the Gorosei.
This guy's getting a follow. He's cooking.
If they uncover the fact that the Gorosei are demon monsters like they do on Egghead, and that Imu actually exists and wipes countries entirely off of the map, then by standing by and participating as a Marine is to be complicit in those crimes.
Fully agree.
I can completely forgive the naivete of Kobe. I cannot forgive this man for watching his people die, knowing what is going on, and then just taking a lesser position so he doesn't have to do exactly what the Celestial Dragons tell him to do.
Wholeheartedly agree. All right, that's video one. We got two more.
Keeping with the theme of all Marines being evil, let's talk about a couple of the examples that came up in the comments quite a few times. Monkey D. Dragon, Jaguar D. Saul,
yep.
Kuzan.
WWW.
Dragon is going to be short and simple. He
Gabra,
is a textbook
exactly.
example of
Yo, Grim, what's up,
tyranny,
man? I see you over on
oppression,
TikTok.
and
I
aligning
appreciate you, bro.
himself against it. He created the Revolutionary Army immediately after seeing the damage of what happened to Ohara after a Buster Call. And he decided to align himself against tyranny because the world government and the Celestial Dragons will kill people purely for wanting to learn. Jaguar D. Saul is the second example of someone who deserts and dissents against the actions of the world government and the Marines.
Real quick pause on that. Twisted, I don't disagree with what you're saying. He says, although the Marines are flawed, without a strong Marine force, the world would lack order. I agree. But when that force is doing more oppression than support, that's the issue. We would need something like the structure that revolutionaries create to implant a better system of control. I mean, that's the real issue here, and it's I have no answers for it. We obviously can't figure it out in our own world, let alone in the One Piece world. Hopefully Oda has a solution by the end of this, because I don't know what it is. But you got to find a way to be able to have a large force that does command respect and has power, but does not use that power to oppress and keep people down and subdue ideas. And that's a tough one, bro. That's the big question, right? So, like, I have no answers to that. But
Marines.
I agree with you.
He
We need law and order,
left
but
after discovering that he is going to
not
lead
like
the
this,
Buster Call
you know?
against Ohara, after meeting Olvia, and eventually winds up.
I
in a
think the
situation
Revs would
where
be the
he
ones.
is gonna
I would
be
hope
the
so.
End of the violence that is created by the actual group that he was a part of. Lastly, Aokiji, or should I say Kuzan. He is no longer a part of the Marines or the world government apparatus after losing to Akainu in a fight that lasted 10 days to see who would take control of the Navy. Do I think this guy had good intentions with wanting to lead the Navy? Absolutely not. I believe he thinks that Akainu was the wrong choice, but I believe all three of the admirals that we initially meet in the show had different versions of justice.
100%. 100%. The different version of justice is good.
Probably not any better than Akainu's.
Osmo with the follow, man. Thank
If
you
he
for that,
truly
bro.
moved
Welcome
on
to the
from
crew.
his time in the Navy, then that fight with Garp would have meant next to nothing to him. It would have just been another opponent for the Blackbeard Pirates. We see his opinion of Nico Robin as soon as they meet.
Yeah, no facts.
Propaganda of the world government. He was an admiral after all. He took direct orders exactly from the Celestial Dragons and from the Gorosei. I don't believe this guy actually has any good intentions other than he's just mad that he lost and he wants to exact revenge. And the quickest way to do that is to join with somebody who is antithetical to the cause that he was initially a part of, which is just complete chaos by the Blackbeard Pirates. We have two examples of people leaving the Navy and actually attempting to do good. We've got Monkey D. Dragon creating the Revolutionary Army. We have Saul, where, even if it is incidentally, he did try to save the people of Ohara.
Mm-hmm.
But Aokiji is no better than he ever was as a Marine.
Agreed.
I think he's evil from the start. I think he's evil now. I don't think he has any good intentions.
I don't think he's
And if
pure
he did,
evil, but I don't think he
would
has
have
the
joined
good
the
of
Blackbeard
everybody. I think
Pirates.
he's selfish at the absolute minimum.
Keeping with the
Okay, and then one more video real quick, guys. That was another banger. Agreed. Then the top one, right?
Fall Marines.
This is
are
the
evil.
Kobe part. So here's the
What
Kobe
about
part. We'll
Kobe?
do this and we'll wrap up.
One caveat to knock out pretty early is the fact that we meet Kobe when Oda still thought One Piece was going to be a 5-year-long series. As much as we talk about how great and masterful Oda is as a writer, I don't even think he understood what the Marines and the world government would eventually become by the time that he started One Piece. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the fact that
I'm not sure if I agree on that.
Completely propagandized. I don't think Kobe wants to stop Luffy's dream because it'll upset the status quo or completely
I'm not saying that Oda is like, Mr. God who absolutely had 100% of this planned, like a lot of people want to say. Like, obviously, a lot of it is actual retcons and stuff like that. But at the bare minimum, the Marines have never been a force for good for not one single moment in this entire anime, from what I can tell. There are good eggs within the Marines, quote unquote, obviously a little against what he's saying, but like people like Garp have good intentions. People like Kobe quite obviously have good intentions, but I 100% think that Oda absolutely intended for the Marines to be the bad guys for all intents and purposes. So I think he's a little bit wrong in that capacity. I think the point of him having Kobe take the Marine path and Luffy take the pirate path and letting them parallel all the way through the story was absolutely purposeful. And I think the point of it is to show what two people with a very similar mentality at the end of the day being put in two different situations will still end up at the right answer by the end of it all. So Kobe, like this guy said in the video specifically, has been propagandized. So it's not necessarily Kobe's fault immediately that he didn't realize that the world government were a bad entity and not a general source of positivity for the world. But now that we have Kobe up to the level that he's at in Sword and things like that, specifically after Marineford, I think after he saw Marineford, I think that's got to be the moment that Kobe started being like, wait a minute, these guys kind of suck. So going into that, I think he's a little bit wrong on the first bit of it, but I feel like the point he's making is probably working its way back around. Let's keep going.
Overturn the world government. I think he thinks this is his job purely because he works for the world government, is a Marine, and he has to stop pirates' dreams.
Again, I don't think that's the case. I think Kobe actually genuinely is one with the truest sense of justice in this. I think he doesn't want to stop pirates' dreams, but he wants to uplift the dreams of people inherently. Kobe is the antithesis of what living for your dreams can become. Kobe started off as this weird little guy at the very beginning into this super freaking badass, crazy powerful, and very confident human being because of his training with Garp and because of him fighting for his ideals. And I truly believe that Kobe's ideals are to simply just uplift the dreams. Now look, if someone is pirating and doing bad things as a pirate, he's going to go against them. Sure. But if someone's pirating like Luffy and doing good things, he ain't against Luffy. He ain't against that concept.
And in doing
I think
so,
we're generalizing
his dream
a little
is to
bit.
become an admiral. And need I remind you, and just to remind you, this is Robin's reaction to seeing a single admiral, to even understanding that they were even present at the time. Now the question becomes, what about Sword? Now, while you don't actually see them in their current fits or in their Navy fatigues here, does a Sword member look any different than a normal Marine to a slave of Marijois?
No.
I argue no.
Yeah.
While these people have noble aspirations, and I believe Oda created this because he didn't understand initially when he started the story just how evil the world government would eventually become.
Again, in the moment, he might prove me wrong after I say this, but disagree with that. I think this is to show the degradation of going from, I believe in this higher authority, to I'm not fully convinced on this higher authority, but I do still think we're overall doing good to find. So I think we're seeing this in stages. First time we really saw, Garp and Kobe, they're in their full attire, right? Their full fits. They got the coats on. They are Marine as you could possibly be. Now we see them being less Marine, but still Marine aesthetic. So they're getting the idea, but they haven't locked in on it fully yet. And I think the final time we see Sword, they will be completely and utterly not decorated by Marine attire and in their own attire. We'll see what he has to say, though.
At the end of the day, they're still Marines. Yes, they do get to ignore orders. Yes, they get to go and fight admirals if they want to. But at the end of the day, they still wear this badge. They still uphold what this upholds. And we don't see Sword going after the slaves of Marijois to try and free them. Last thing I'll say is you can engage and negotiate with a text in many.
I just love that this is homie's background for his phone. This just goes crazy. Completely unrelated, but that's a tough piece of art right there.
Many different ways. Would it shock you to find out this has been my background for months?
Go.
I absolutely love the character of Kizaru. I love his abilities. I love the way he fights. I love the fact that he only kicks and isn't a pervert. I love
dubs.
watching Kizaru on screen.
Agreed.
For anything that he's ever there.
I actually
for.
agree with
I love
all
his
of that.
Dynamic with everyone. I love the engagement that he has with Luffy on Egghead and his backstory with everybody that's involved in Egghead. But at the end of the day, I still think he's evil.
Yeah, absolutely.
To round this out, do I think Kobe is a good person? Yeah. Do I think he upholds evil and doesn't really think critically of who he's employed by? I think also yes. If all Marines are...
I think he has become. I think he's. The only thing I really disagree on is I think this is showing the process of. There's a word for it when you've been indoctrinated into something and then you have to regress out of that mindset and that way of thinking. I think that's what Oda is showing with a character like Kobe. I think Garp is the one who's late to the party and does it too late in his life, and I think Kobe will be the example of he was indoctrinated by some toxic mentalities but is now deconstructed. I think that's the word. He's being deconstructed from all this. Yeah, deconstruction. There it is. Yeah. So love this guy's videos. This is Golfer Gare Bear. is his @ if anybody wants to go check him out. I highly recommend to follow. I reposted and liked one of these videos, so if you're on TikTok, you can go check that out. Big shout out to this guy. I think this was a fantastic series of videos. I really, really enjoyed this. There's definitely a movement within the Marines to clean up the Marines. I agree, and I think that's kind of where we're getting to. Kobe will take charge of the Marines and lead them into the era of world peace. Honest to God, dude. And like what we were saying earlier, where we need a new structure for the Marines, Kobe will be the one to lead that, more than likely. More than likely, man. Mel, big dubs for these videos. I think this was a really fun talking point. This is going to be a good video separately. I'm going to chop this up and shout out this guy one more time. Golfer Gare, I believe. Gare, maybe? Gare? Fantastic content, dude. W's. You fully agree on my point. In the current time and place, Kobe does still currently uphold the status quo. He does. He does. I mean, he's getting there, but Kobe's story is a story of indoctrination and deconstruction. We normally do these One Piece streams every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If Mother's Day and stuff like that happens, I'll push the streams back. And as always, I got a Discord where I inform you guys about that. We've got a Twitch channel where you can normally see all these things. I've got a YouTube where I will chop up the video that we did today and the new chapter breakdown, put that up on YouTube. We got Patreon for unedited content. And lastly, dude, we just got vibes, man. I appreciate y'all being here. You 100% you love in-depth discussion like this. Oh, Mel, this is what I live for, dude. This is what I live for. You think to some of the Marines are too powerful, the good Marines are content with being morally good on the micro within the greater evil institute. You're absolutely right, Twiz. I think you're so right. And that's where the complacency lands, and that is inherently where the fallacies begin, right? Because you're like, well, I can't affect the whole world. So, even though I'm a Marine and I work for the bad guys, I'm kind of doing good work. So, like, I'm not a bad guy. Yeah, people justify that shit real heavy. Guys, again, thank y'all so much. Tell the people you love them. Go touch some grass, drink some water, and I will see you guys in the next stream.